we are gathered here today for a special award and a special occasion for a special family and a special officer that we want to recognize today. Now, I want to thank folks for coming to celebrate this, and this is the first ever Mayor's Outstanding Service to the Community Award. This is something that we hope to do quarterly to recognize folks in Albuquerque, whether it's the police department or the fire department or even city employees who have truly done something outstanding for our community. And this award was really created to essentially recognize heroism and heroic acts. And so it's something that is a special part of my role as mayor to be able to recognize and acknowledge that and highlight the role models and the heroes that are all around us each day. So when I heard the amazing story of Officer Holitz, there was no doubt in my mind that he should be the first recipient of this award. And it is such a beautiful act on behalf of his family and of their selfless heroism that we're able to share this story with you today. And I know a lot of folks have heard this, maybe not all of the details, but I think it's also appropriate that that story is shared by some of the folks who are closest to our officer. And so that would be his sergeant, who I want to introduce, Sergeant Edison, to essentially tell this story to Albuquerque. Sergeant?
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Chief. And he has his squad mates here today. It's a tough story to say, and so I'll try to muscle my way through it here. This story begins really on September 23rd of last year. Officer Holitz was and is a training officer, and he was actually with his very first recruit on their very first day. And they were taking a call for service. And during this training part of the day, or training part of the session, the recruit is watching the officer setting examples, showing them how to do the job. And they end up at the 3200 block of Montgomery, and they're there for what we would kind of call just a random call, kind of an ordinary call, if you will. It's somebody's stolen something from the gas station. And when Officer Holitz gets there, he recognizes something that he's probably much too familiar with seeing, and that is a female and a male sitting in position in kind of a grass area, and they're about to ingest heroin. And he recognizes that, unfortunately, from his time in the department, and he knows what it looks like. So he goes to talk to them, and he recognizes after speaking to them that the female is pregnant, and she's rather pregnant. And he begins to talk to her about the dangers to her baby. And he offers her much help, rehab. He ends up, through the time with them, paying for hotels, showers, even a tent and sleeping bags. And I know most of you know a lot of this story after seeing it on the national news, but it really goes to a different level of call at this point. What happens next is Officer Holitz, who had been speaking to his wife over the last couple of years about having a really large family. They already have 4 children. They had already had discussions about adopting more children, and he made an offer to this woman to adopt her child. And so how did I find out about it? Well, Officer Holitz came to me and he said, I got to throw myself under the bus, Sarge. You probably think I was out goofing around. I was on this call a really long time, and I wasn't. I just want to kind of tell you what was happening. And he pretty much thrown himself under the bus. And I reminded him, as I said to the mayor when he did his ride-along in my squad, that essentially I try to pass on 2 guiding principles to my guys, and they're real simple, I think. We go home safe. It's not negotiable. And we make our moms proud. And I think I mentioned that to the mayor when he did his ride-along a few months ago. And the other thing that I may not have mentioned to him is that I have an easy job, and that's just to catch them do it right. And doing it right, he did. And so Officer Holitz hired an attorney. He helped the birth mother understand what she was going to be doing, made sure she was sure about it. He continued to pay for her care prior to delivery. And as I wrote in here, we all get an opportunity to sit before the chief on our final selection to be police officers. And we call it chief selection. And you get face to face with the chief or the chief's staff, and I did mine years ago. And we talk about helping people. We raise our hand and we take an oath. And we promise to serve and protect. But I don't know if it ever looked this pure. To me, Officer Holitz really showed what it looks like to be a servant, what it looks like to be a community caretaker, what helping people really looks like, how changing the life of a child who, by every measure, was going to have an extremely difficult start in life. He clearly made his mother proud. And he changed the world for an unborn child who's now born and here with us today, fortunately. And I couldn't be more proud. So with that, I wrote this memo, and I'm very glad that we've taken the opportunity to recognize an outstanding young man. Couldn't be more proud of. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you for fulfilling that part of what you said you're committed to as Sergeant. So a job well done on your behalf as well. So I think now, Officer, we'd love you to go ahead and stand up for us. And we have a couple of things. The Chief has an award for your uniform. We are so new in this office, we don't have frames yet. But we do have certificates. So it's my honor to present you with the Outstanding Service to the Community Award on behalf of the City of Albuquerque. And we'll work on a frame for you for that one. Thank you so much, and congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have? Yeah, go ahead.
A few words.
Sure.
First of all, I'd like to thank Sergeant Edison. I think the recognition from a sergeant who's the closest to his field troops and the encouragement you give your officers is exemplary, and I think that's going to send a message across the board and the whole city and the whole police department. Ryan reminded me that I was his first commander, and I would like to take credit for some of this, but it's all him. He was outstanding from the start. I recognized he was one of the shining stars coming up, and you proved me proud. And like making your mother proud, you made me proud, and I'm sure everybody in the city proud by your actions. I think we're up to 29 million hits globally on the social media things. So it speaks a lot. You're going to be famous, whether you want to or not. So we'll see you on different late night shows and things like that, I'm sure. But in the department, we recognize our officers from the highest award, as you saw during my swearing-in service with my deputy chiefs, to all kinds of things, from simple commendations and just an attaboy pat on the back from time to time. And so we have a specific award that meets this criteria. It's called the Outstanding Service Award. As you can see on my uniform, officers wear their distinguished service, different types of recognition, mementos, so to speak, on our uniform as a measure of pride for what we do and to show the community what we do. And I notice you don't have one yet. You may have some, but I've got your first one for you. And I'm not going to pin it on you because I don't want to have to undo your uniform, but you can keep that and wear that on your uniform with pride because you definitely earned it. And all of us thank you because, again, I think the image of the whole city and the police department as we move forward, people are going to remember the positive things. And what a great recruitment tool and other opportunities that we'll get as a result of your selfishness, your kindness. You know, it's pretty much a given that every day officers get a chance to make a difference in the life of others, as the sergeant said. That can range from just courtesy on a call and relieve somebody that's heard something go bump in the night and you relieve their fears and give them that sense of security, to changing us to tire a broken down car on the freeway, to something at this extreme. And I mean, I've never seen anything like that in this department. Smaller levels, but you took it to the extreme, and I from the bottom of my heart, I congratulate you and thank you for being part of the department. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. For a few questions? Yeah, that's fine. Officer is kind enough to take a few questions, and so really appreciate that because obviously this is a family matter too, but a wonderful story to share with our community, so it's all yours.
Officer, can you tell us your wife's reaction when you told her this plan, this idea that you came up with?
Yeah, she was initially very shocked, obviously, because it's not every day that you come and say, hey, I offered to adopt a baby. But she didn't hesitate, because she has to take a few seconds to understand what I just said, but she immediately said, let's do this. This is a wonderful thing. And that's why I love her so much. She's an amazing woman, and I'm very fortunate to be married to her. Because she's really the true hero here. I brought the baby home. She's the one taking care of the baby while I'm at work, and so she is the true hero.
And you had a 10-month-old already.
Yes, at that point, yes, we had a 10-month-old baby, and then our other 3 children too.
How is the health of the baby?
The baby's been doing well, eating well, sleeping well, and so I think yesterday, unfortunately, she got a little bit of a cough, but as far as the effects of the meth and heroin, the detox is complete. That was before she left the hospital, and so we're just taking it day by day. We don't know what the long-term effects are going to be, but we've been working with UNM, the doctors there, going to outpatient clinics, and we'll continue to tap into all the resources to get help as we move forward.
Can you name the baby?
Yes.
What
The baby's name is Hope.
Oh.
Yes. Hope Holitz.
Great. And how old is Hope now?
She's just over 8 weeks.
Can we see the new edition?
You can. Here. And this is Hope. She's a little sleepy right now, but she's starting to get pretty chubby, which is good. She was very skinny when she was first born, very thin. So.
How did your other children respond to Hope?
Oh, they love her. She's absolutely their sister, and it's some of our children are 3, 1, obviously, and so you have to keep them back a little bit, but they just want to hug her and kiss her as much as they can.
What's all the attention been like, Ryan?
Overwhelming. It's been overwhelming and humbling, and I can't believe how many people have been reaching out to tell us how touched they've been by the story. And one of the things that's just quite stunning is we've gotten a lot of mail through the department, most of it. And there have been people who they talk about how they don't have very much themselves, and they don't have very much money, but they'll stick in a $10 bill saying, hey, please use this. And the notes are just touching and just super humbling. I can't even explain it really. And when they talk about, I didn't even know it was that high on the views, but I think it really does resonate because people want a little bit of hope, and I think that's what this is.
How do you feel that you're the first outstanding service to the community? Do you get the first award?
Oh, well, I can tell you I am not the first to do outstanding service for the community, and I'm very humbled that I'm the first. I work every day with officers who provide outstanding service to the community, and I'm just privileged to work with a great squad and with great officers who just do their job and do it very well. They make me humbled, and I think I'd mentioned before that there's a lot of officers who've done very similar things. There's a lot of officers involved in fostering who've adopted children who needed it, and they might not necessarily have come to light, and the media might not have noticed that, but there's a lot, and a lot of officers have stepped forward to offer encouragement and advice, and so yeah, there's just so much of that going on in our department.
Have your partners offered up babysitting services?
Not yet. But we have my parents and my wife's parents and a lot of extended family who live in town, and they've been very helpful, especially when Hope was in the hospital. We couldn't have done that without them watching the kids while we were basically there 24/7 with Hope as she was going through the detox process.
How hard was that for you to watch?
Very hard. very hard. I think Sarge can tell you. I talked to him, and I talked to a couple of close family. They know it was not easy because in her case she was suffering just as much as anybody else who's gone through that process, and that's one of the reasons why the addiction is so difficult to overcome, because the pain and suffering that you go through when you go through withdrawals is that intense.
What are you going to tell Hope when she gets older, when she wants to know her story?
We're going to tell her from the beginning. We don't want her to view that her being adopted is out of ordinary or is anything shocking. I don't want to break it to her when she gets older. She's going to want to know who her birth parents were and are. And so we, for that reason, stayed in contact with Tom and Crystal, and we are working very hard to try to get them into rehab. We want them very much to recover and then become a part of her life as they're able to if they overcome their addiction. But we're staying in contact and through email, sending pictures, so as much as we can.
18 years from now, where do you want to see Hope?
18 years from now? Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but I hope the best for her. I know that she's going to be a beautiful young woman, and we'll see. I know that great things await for her.